Hey guys, this is Chad here, the host from Podcast These Good Degrees. I greatly appreciate this older episode here with David talking about business mindset and sales. I greatly apologize because my voice is kind of gone here in the last couple days, so not as much pumping the step here. So once again, thank you for the recent download, and see you guys next week. Chad is out.
All right, welcome. Hey guys, welcome to C's Good Degrees. I am your co-host Chad, and on the other side of it, we got David Anjo. What's up, man?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Hey, but prior to me entering the introduction here, we were talking about some goal setting and writing stuff down and notes on iPhones. And I'm like, what the hell? It's going to be a great topic. Let's start with that right away. So, obviously, you said you got a Bible on your phone. And obviously, I said I'm old school and new school. So, on my left, I got a tablet. On the right, I got a pad. Fire away, man. How do you approach your life and how do you organize it?
Well, funny you should say it. I actually have in my house. You're not going to see this for the people that are listening, but I actually have whiteboards in my front room, even at home. So I've got whiteboards, I've got notepads, and I've got notes. So like now, I have a notepad and pen because we're talking. So if I'm in a face-to-face meeting or a Zoom call, a lot of the stuff I'm writing it down because I'm trying to absorb things. So if something pops into my head now that I want to ask, I don't want to obviously be rude and interrupt. So I write a lot of that stuff down, or a point you might make that I'll come back to. But a lot of the time, my thoughts, notepads are normally what people are talking to me about, and my notes on my phone are normally my own thoughts and my own plans.
That's awesome. Yeah, for some odd reason, like I'm more of a notebook guy, but then I'll translate it to my phone. But the phone, it's more copy paste. So like for some odd reason, like you're doing on the notes, I'll do YouTube videos with that. So like I'll do YouTube, save it on my computer, or vice versa, go YouTube, save it on the notes portion of it. Because then for me, all that nuggets in that video, I can just link. But on
it's
the other,
just handy having where you've got a phone on you all the time. It's just handy having that access. I use a teleprompter app for some of my videos. So if I'm out or I'm just thinking about something, it's easy to write that down because I can just then copy it onto a teleprompter app, and then you can copy it onto a Microsoft Word document or whatever it might. It's just rather than writing that all out by hand all the time. The idea of writing stuff down all the time just puts me off. I mean, I had to fill out the forms out the other day. I don't know if I'm writing down now. I had to fill out about 10 pages of this form. And I just felt like I was back at school. And I was like, this isn't a fun memory.
Yeah, man, I'm 34, and I know you're a little bit further ahead in life than I am too. And I'm just sitting there laughing. I'm like, obviously, I wrote mine down last night at 11. So my schedule's a little bit different because I work second shift here in the States, which is 2 to 10 p.m. So I'm still up at like 1 o'clock at night. So last night I'm sitting there going it's like 11. I'm like, this is funny. I'm doing the schedule for my whole week while everyone's sleeping.
Yeah. And I think this is very much the way the modern world is now as well, where people that are entrepreneurial, have a side hustle or anything like that. It's a lifestyle we live rather than a start and a stop moment. It's not a clock in and a clock out. It's very much, it's life and there's sleep. For me, I wake up, a lot of people always talk about morning routines, about get up, don't have your phone for an hour and this and all this stuff. I wake up, I live by the water, I open up the curtains, put a bit of water on my face, and I get back into bed and I'll work for my phone. From literally when I wake up for the first hour, I'll work in bed on my phone, like writing down notes, ideas, plans, looking at my schedule for the day. And a lot of people I talk to, you're crazy. You should take 2 hours in the morning and meditate. And I'm like, no, I'm all right. I have my get up and that's my routine. And for me, it works. And I think the way lifestyle is now, with technology, it's quite adaptable. So if you want to do more in the evenings, you can. You're not tied to a certain point like you would in a normal job, would you?
Yeah, and I'm gonna tee in on the entrepreneurial thing you just said on here. I know we can go on a different path here with different topics, but that's a key one that you said because the reason is yesterday. Well, we'll back up 2 days here. Saturday night, the weekends typically for people that punch in and out are for fun.
Very
and
much.
and what's happening now with my, not say side hustles, but like my podcasting. Obviously I'm trading Forex on the side. Just side cash, eBay, whatever it is. When it hits midnight on a Saturday, I'm still working. So like this past Saturday, it was 12:30, 1 o'clock. I cut wood all day Saturday.
Mm.
Came in, took a shower, jumped on the computer till 1 o'clock in the morning. Here I'm editing podcasts, falling asleep, leaning on my computer, and everyone's like, and then that's the light bulb that went off, because like a week before it showed like what people think entrepreneurs are, where they're living the life,
Yeah.
but yet on the other side of it, you see the person that's at, burning the midnight hour, falling asleep on his computer, and I'm sitting here at church last night just going, that was me.
Yeah. I think you're right with it as well. I think so many people out there, they have the mentality. You get the entrepreneur and you get the employee mentality. And I think a lot of the time with the employees struggle to gauge on the idea of why would you do that? But they've always had they've done school, and then the school hours are ingrained. Then they've left school and gone to work where it's a similar hours that you have in school, being told what to do and when. A lot of people are going to the entrepreneurial thing. At the start of any entrepreneurial project, you've got to put all the extra time, all the extra work in, because if I do twice the work, it condenses my success. If it's going to take me a year to be successful, if I double my work ethic and my results, actually I can get it done in 6 months.
Yeah.
And that just becomes a new habit for the drive and determination and will to succeed. Where a lot of people, if they're an employee, they're based on, I'm not getting paid for it, why would I? Entrepreneurs put the work in and get the bigger rewards later because they put that work in that other people won't do.
And I'm going to tee off on that one because we're in the same mindset with this here.
Mm.
So I'm at the point now where it's like I know my directions on the entrepreneurial side, but I'm sitting at work. It's like guys are like, "Oh, you want to do this for overtime?" I'm like, "No, as much as I would love overtime. I love working. I'm like a workaholic, but I'm at it. It's like, okay, I have more value that I can go home, record podcasting, do whatever, and it's to the point now where, okay, overtime will give me $100 a day, whatever it is, 120, whatever the breakdown is. And I'm like, my value in the direction I'm going is like $200-300 an hour. It's like,
exactly.
It's like, okay, guys, I totally get it. I want the overtime. I totally get it. But it's like, I have the ability now and the leverage at home to say, dude, I got a lot more things at home. So like my time's very valuable. So it's, if you're not going to give it to me.
Mine said about this the other day. He said it's very much like getting paid for overtime is like being paid to pick the apples off a tree, and being an entrepreneur is planting your own apple trees, which you're going to get nothing off for a while. But in years to come, you have your own apple trees that will pick for you can pick off of. Whereas you're just working for someone else, you're just picking their tree forever. And you want the apples, I would sacrifice the apples now to get someone else to do it for me later as well.
Oh yeah, dude, and I'll be 100% completely honest. I sold a lot of stuff off. I sold a lot of my toys growing up, and it's not so much that I miss them. In order to gain something on your plate, you got to take something off. And
100%.
What I'm looking at, it's like, okay, those are memories, those are great things, but here's the deal. I can go sell them temporarily and get very successful. And then if I miss them, I can buy them again. And
100%. If your hands are full all the time, you can't grab anything new. And I think with a lot of stuff out there, people hold on to it. It's great to get the memories. But if it's something you're using, then yeah, you've got to sacrifice. Okay, well, actually, I need to sell my laptop. Actually, I'll need it. It doesn't work out. But if you've got stuff which is ornamental, or stuff which is just in a box, and is like with the whole Gary Vee stuff about raising money, it's a step, feels like a step back for a lot of people, which stops them. But it's the jump forward that can give you. That time that we spend, like you say, the sacrifice of you taking that stuff out of your house, selling it to fund it, makes you work damn harder as well. Because you're like, listen, I've put my balls on the line with this. I've sold X, Y, and Z. So when you're a bit tired, when you're going to turn the laptop off, that's why we fall asleep on our laptop. Because it's all the energy, the money, the things you've sold, the sacrifices you've made to get to the stage you're at now. You're like, well, I'm not going to bloody stop now. Not when I've done all of this, which is what people don't see.
Yeah, and it's actually funny reflecting back on my friends group. All my friends group have businesses, which is kind of funny because everyone's like, oh, who are your friends? You go out and party? And I'm like, trying to reflect. I got like 6 core ones that push and strive me and all that stuff. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, wait a minute, business owner, business owner, business owner, business. And a girl was poking in. She's like, do you have fun? I said, yeah, but I'm like, it's heavy work. She's like, what do you mean heavy work? I said,
Yeah.
all my
100%.
I'm like, all my friends are business owners, but yet we will grind and achieve and work together. And to us, that's fun. And then on the other end of it, let's say we grind all day, like a 12-hour day. Okay.
Yeah.
From 6 to 10, we're all seasoned enough to where we can say, okay, hey, these 4 hours, we're just going to completely sit on the porch, eat a barbecue, whatever it is. And that's refreshing for us.
And you know, the thing is, quite a lot of those times, also, ideas come up, conversations happen. And although you're not working, you're not doing a task, because you're with like-minded people that have the same mindset, you either become inspired by what they're doing, you inspire them because of what you're doing, or you're just talking about a goal or a drive. It's a different conversation for a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, because it's a white-hot desire. It's not a want. It's not, I want to go on holiday. It's like, I need it. It literally, it drives us mad. And so when you're with like-minded people, they'll either spur you on or you'll spur them on to carry on with it. So even when you are relaxing, there's still always that little bubbling pot, that white-hot desire, which comes out, doesn't it? And you're talking to those people or you're batting ideas off. So even though we're relaxing, not doing tasks, we're still actually progressing, even in the barbecue times.
Yeah, and the funny thing is you're always on. And I kind of laughed at it because I was in sales for 12 years, and everyone's like, dude, you're always on. I'm like, yeah, right. And I wanted that in that transition up to where I'm at now. I wanted that disconnect because I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I wanted to where, okay, this is my sales career, shut it down, and then switch over to entrepreneurial. Now I have a position where I can punch in for 8, completely shut down when I leave the door.
Yeah.
And then build I have no stress coming home whatsoever, whatever, and I can build my entrepreneurial
Well, if
mind.
anything, you look forward to it because you can see either what's blossoming or you enjoy what you're doing. Like with the coaching and stuff I do now, I don't find it hard. If I've got someone who I'm coaching who's not making any effort, then they're frustrating after a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because if I'm having to, I'm not great at repeating myself. So if I'm showing someone something once, twice, 3 times, and they're not paying attention to it, then I'm like, are you serious? So that's not something I want to be messaging about at 7 in the morning. But I've got a guy, 4 or 5 guys, literally, they've only been with me the last week, 2 weeks, who are really going at it. Like they're on the platform, they're training every day, they're learning new skills. So when they're messaging me, I'm like, this is great. One guy's messaging me, he's like, I made £1,000 yesterday, this is amazing, but I couldn't get this right. How do I do it? So I vibe on that. That's where my energy comes from. So with that, if I wake up in the morning, especially if there are people in the States or in India or wherever, because of time zones, if I wake up, my phone's got 20 messages on there. When I wake up, I'm like, wow, I'm curious. I want to see what it's about. So if someone's done this right, and then I'm vibing, so then you're ready to go. And I think that's the thing with it. It's just being on all the time because you love what you do.
And I'm gonna add in on the messaging thing. I think every day for the last 3 weeks, it's been a message in the morning. And everyone was like, well, what do you do? And I'm going to tee off on not tee off, just kind of add in what my routine is. Dude, I go hit the gym because I want to hit that gas pedal right away. So it's like right to the squat rack. And everyone's like, bro, you're like, stretching your heart out. How the hell are you not having a heart attack? I'm like, no, I'm a hyperactive kid to begin with. If I'm not, if I'm looking at you and I know I'm going to half-ass it, mentally I'm not there, I'm wasting your time. That's when the passion kicks in, because it took me so many years of my life to realize, okay, yeah, whatever, in time. And then now with podcasting, Forex, and whatever it is, I had that vision, that why, that stuff where it completely clicked. And now I'm like super tunnel vision, where I'm even very particular with my routine because I know where I want to go, and I know where I need to be, and it's the why thing. It's like, dude, I'm like locked and loaded to get there. So I have to wake up, I have to get going, I have to like be up and rolling for like 16 hours because for me, it's not so much you value, like I value my time. It's you just gave me an hour of your day, let's say half hour, whatever it is, of your busy day. I don't know how much money you make. I don't need to know, but I know you're running a business. That time's valuable. So it's like, I need to give you 100% because that's kind of a dumbass moment on my end of it to not give it all,
I think, yeah, do you know the thing is, I think it's a real big trait for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs don't see an hour as an hour. Entrepreneurs don't see a book as a book and an hour as an hour. An entrepreneur sees a book as, a lot of people who don't read books, I always think they've not got anything out of a book they've read. For me, I know I can read. I read a book called Four Agreements recently, and literally, cover's awful, but someone recommended it. I read like 20 pages. I'm like, this is terrible. But I was like, no, this person told me, and I believe that person. If they say it's good, there's something in there I need to find. At least I got like 25 pages in. A couple of things happened. I was like, bang. And it's changed my life, changed my mentality, changed the way that I overanalyze a lot of stuff. And it taught me, and in a way I understood how to park things that I've thought about and mistakes that I've made and stop beating myself up about. So that one lesson, that one page, that one paragraph isn't a paragraph. It's a game changer for me. And it's the same with an hour. Entrepreneurs, I believe, in an hour can get a week's worth of value. In 1 hour's conversation, they can get either hyped up to spur them on an entire day. They hear something with different ears. They see something with different glasses. They come out with a different perspective. And that hour isn't an hour. We don't even see it in time. It's about value. And if we spend an hour on there, that value we get out of it is a difference. And I think that's a big difference between the entrepreneurial mindset and also the paid employee mindset, because they're looking at the hour because of my hourly rate. We're looking at value because that's what we try to bring to people as well.
And I'm actually, I am digging on my phone right here quick, but I'm looking for saying that I did last week, and a guy completely blew me away from it. And me and you are on the same topic on this, so just bear with me here. I need to find it.
That's right. Don't worry. It's fine.
So this one, and I had a this was last week, Thursday, and it completely blew me away. Like you said, it's hour worth of podcast, and all of a sudden it's like a 2-second saying that just completely transforms your life. And I'm sitting here, and me and him are just joking, just like you know, goofing around, kind of collaborating, do whatever it is, and kind of thinking. He goes, hey, he looked at me, and he's from Australia, and I'm not going to do his accent because I'm a completely Canadian based. And he looked at me, goes, you can't give 100% to other people if you're not giving yourself 100% first. And all of a sudden it's just boom. And I'm like, he looked at me, he goes, how was my pod? I'm like, man, I could just highlight that right there.
It's done. Done. That's it. That's all I need. Yeah. And I think this is why we have our pen and papers with us. Because at any point, at any second, one thing can be said, and we know that actually everyone's very good at the negative. And in the normal world, everyone is great about one thing that an ex-girlfriend said to you, an ex-boyfriend said to you. Someone said you look crap in an outfit. Someone said they look fat in this dress, or whatever it is. People are great at holding that one statement in a negative for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But one positive statement can do the same thing if we let it. And I think with entrepreneurs, we're ready for it. And that's why we have a pen. Why we have a pen and a pad. Because we're ready for that. I think a lot of people out there, they latch onto the negative the quickest. With entrepreneurs, they latch onto, they're hunting for the good. They're looking for that bit of inspiration, that saying, whatever it might be, but can really just get them over to the next level. Because we're all looking to the next level, aren't we?
Yeah, everyone's looking to level up, and it's 1% each day type of thing. And that's what we're talking about previously, because we were looking at it. He goes, obviously me and you were kind of leveling up and teeing up and stuff. I look at it as, obviously I was that side of it where I was looking at negative, and all of a sudden the light bulb switched and I went through life events. I'm not going to go in further of what I need to go on that end of it, but all of a sudden the light bulb clicked, and I'm just sitting here chuckling, because I'm like, everything I visioned doing in my 20s, I'm doing now, because I don't have that voice in my head, or I turned off the media, or I turned off TV. I think I turned on twice in like 60 days.
Yeah.
And
and it changes everything, right?
Oh man, that's the best thing I've ever done.
Do you know what comparable is? Do you remember years ago you had like the Nintendo, you had Mario Brothers?
Yes.
And the games.
Yep.
Do you remember you get level up and you suddenly go massive?
Yeah.
And I always think with learning stuff and entrepreneurship as well, that one little thing is like one little second where suddenly you go boom, 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 and suddenly you're 10 times bigger. You can scale walls, you can do this, you can do that. And that's what we're looking at all the time, is find the next Super Mario level up to get bigger, to be able to conquer easier, to overcome, and all the stuff out there. And it's always one thing that always sticks in my head is the Super Mario one. Every time you get that little bit of gem of a lesson or hearing someone say it or a speech, it just boosts you up, and suddenly you're this giant that can just conquer everything. And in the same way, when something bad happens, we become a bit smaller. We get a bit more timid, become a bit more shy. And it's trying to conquer the smaller ones and maximize on the increases.
Well, and I'm gonna add in on this. I actually climbed up a peak here a month ago when I was in Colorado, and I'll tell you this right now: the peaks aren't level, dude. Like, certain things you go up certain steep, and then it plateaus, and it goes back up certain steep, and then it kind of chills out a little bit, and then you can walk and kind of chill a little bit, and you're kind of plateaued for like 10 minutes, and then you go back certain steep again, and then all of a sudden you're on top of the hill, and you're like, oh, and you're huffing and puffing, but you made the journey. And all of it, I think that's what the entrepreneurial life is. It's like, dude, you can live, and I'm at the point where I already said straight out like 2 years ago, like, you can rip everything away from me. I can go bankrupt if I really wanted to. My goals and dreams are worth it. And people are like, well,
it's better than the regret of not trying.
Yeah. And people kind of looked at me negative when I said that. I said, my goals and dreams are worth going bankrupt for, so I can go make it. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, when you know you can strip everything down, and you know you're afraid of nothing to lose, what's stopping you?
Do you know, it's a funny thing with that as well, because I think a lot of people have that association with stuff like bankruptcy, but go back from a generation before us. So if you go back to our like grandparents' times, and if they went bankrupt, their life was over, because they got a loan from the local bank. They had to work in the local factory. So if they went bankrupt, they're fucked. Like, they've got no hope.
Yeah.
Even our generation before now. But with things like advances in technology, the freedom we have, the ability to travel so much more, the internet, all of this stuff out there, our healing time is almost quicker. You can screw everything up, come out the other side, and heal a lot faster, because the opportunity for growth is so much bigger. Where actually before, if you lived in, I don't know where you live, but if you live in a little town somewhere, before the internet, everyone's working in a factory. To the extent, if you lost enough jobs in that town, you literally have to move out of town. Yeah. Where now, we're talking from here to where you're in Canada.
Well, that's Chicago, but I'm near it.
Chicago, sorry. Yeah, so to you in Chicago, on a call which costs us nothing, and have a video conversation on the other side of the world, which boosts us up. Now, wasn't even an opportunity for someone before. And that's why I think now it's mind-blowing, but people don't find it more fascinating. It's not like when you used to sit down and have a conversation with your grandparents or your uncle, but you didn't want to. You're talking with like-minded people that want the same as you, but want to thrive, but want to do it, which have made mistakes you haven't made yet, but you can learn from. They've achieved things that you haven't managed to do yet, but you can learn from. And it blows my mind. And hence why jumping on these podcasts for me is just so rewarding.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends, I've got friends out there, they'll be like, what, you don't get paid for it? Why are you doing it? Because the value's not in the money. The value's in the lessons that are going to stay with me for the rest of my life. And that's the big clincher.
And the biggest thing, it's recorded. And that's the best part about it. Like, you can go back to it, and I'll answer that 100% completely honest of it. I'm not getting paid for this. And I love it.
Yeah.
Because I know it's the best way of saying it is, dude, I'm not saying I'm worldwide, but it's like just the whole industry, the whole ball of leveling up and entrepreneurship and everything that's all involved with the whole social media side of it, that it blows my mind. Like I said,
the potential's staggering, absolutely staggering.
Yeah, technically I'm in Green Bay, but it's like 2 hours north, and certain people, I just say Chicago, it's a lot easier. People know where Chicago is. but it's yeah, and I'm just gonna reflect on it. In the last 5 days, I talked to one person in British Columbia, so pretty much Vancouver. I talked to you in UK. I've talked to someone in Australia. So it's like all that stuff's free, and you can jump on Wi-Fi. You don't have to pay for roaming charges or anything.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what are
you
doing?
As an entrepreneur as well, it makes you take an hour out of your day and have a conversation. Because very much, I have days where I don't ever leave the house, but it's just been so lazily and focused. Wake up on the phone, work. I'll have some lunch at 1 o'clock, work till 3:30. Then I'll go for a quick bike ride to the gym, do a workout, come home, and I'm back on it again. Or if I've got the kids and I'm focused on that. So the opportunity to sit down on something like this, have an hour conversation with someone who's like-minded, driven, which can give me exposure, builds good rapport. For example, if I meet someone after this and someone said to me, "Oh, I'm looking at getting in podcasting," great, go and give him a shout. If you were speaking to someone and they go, "Oh, I need to find someone to help me myself," oh, you need to go and speak to Dave Angel. You know what I mean? So we get a benefit of a call, take some time out of our day, we get value added to ourselves, potential referrals, exposure to people we don't know, all for an hour, no money.
And on the other side of it, here's the other thing too that you miss, and I completely get it because I'm around like-minded people. The network of people that you have around you that not for your sake, just for everyone's sake and lift everyone up. You know how much value is behind that?
Massively. And it's hard to gauge as well. And I think with stuff like this, when you look at, you know, the whole 6 degrees of separation where everyone knows each other, like it's so easy now to get in front of anyone, but people don't make the effort to get in front of anyone. Like, because it's so easy to talk to anyone in the world. So we've got the whole world at our fingertips. It's almost paralysis from analysis where, well, who would I talk to? Instead of just going out there, I just started putting messages out the other day. And I'm booking on, I think, 4 over the next 2 weeks. And now I'll keep going and go. So I'm like, well, this is great. Even if I'm only doing one of these a week, it's great networking. It's great value. I get value, give value. Time out of the day. And also, when you're passionate about something and you're talking to someone about your passions, when you get off that call, you feel almost like revitalized, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because remind yourself every time of why you're doing it. Where sometimes you can just be doing the daily slog and it can get tiring and it can get draining. But if you're doing something over and over again and not appreciating what you've got, when you have a conversation like this and suddenly you're like, yeah, man, I love what I do. But you have to remind yourself sometime, and it's good to do that.
Yeah, and I started at your level, man, where it's and I don't want to say your level, you're running a big coaching business too, but I mean on the podcast side of it, where it's like you're sitting there going, you're going bigging for the first person to come on, and then all of a sudden you do 1 a week. You're like, okay, this is cool. And then all of a sudden you bring 2 in a week. Oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden you're like, you push yourself 1 a week, and you're like, okay, let's do 4. Well, I did 4 like the week after Labor Day. I'm like, okay, this is kind of tough editing and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, and then it's like the week or 2 later, I had a break to get everything caught up. And then it's like, oh, I got 5 scheduled this week. And I'm like, hit the weekend. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden the light bulb keeps going off. It's like, dude, you just did it.
Yeah.
And you just leveled up. And all of a sudden now it's like the more you're in, it's going to go on the 10,000 hours thing. And we can go elaborate on that whole thing if we really need to. But the more you do it, the more you get better at it, the more focused and more efficient you are with it. And
the repetition's everything. This is with the coaching side of what I do now. I have people all the time, and I'll be talking to someone, and they'll be like, "Oh, so what do you do?" Okay, well, I can teach on everything from prospecting all the way through to closing. Oh yeah, I'm really good on objections. Cool. Let's jump on a call. Well, what do you mean? Well, let's jump on a call.
Yeah.
But I believe that most people are adequate at what they do. In the same way, most people can drive a car. But then if you get Lewis Hamilton to teach them how to drive, I'm pretty sure most people will. I'm not saying I'm Lewis Hamilton, but I'm bloody good as a sales coach. So you might have the basics of sales. And I'll jump on a call and go, okay, cool. So someone actually said, no money, what would you say? Oh, I'm not interested, what would you say? And people freeze. Now, that's because, it's not because they can't do the job, but they haven't been as repetitive as they needed to be to become unconsciously competent. To get to the stage where it's just that reflex. Like if someone goes to hit you, you just put your hand up. You don't think, should have stopped that. Well, unless like you're drunk or sleepy. But you have an instant reaction. And a lot of things with business is that repetition to get that fluidity where it becomes a natural process, a natural reaction. And a lot of people get, I think, especially in entrepreneurs, and anyone can call themselves an entrepreneur. Anyone else can say, I'm a salesperson. And you can, and rightfully so. But there's a big difference in caliber and experience. And at every level, like we do now, we can think we're amazing. But when I get to the next level, I'll be looking back in a year going, oh my God, I can't believe I used to say that. Or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
At the time, we think we're incredible. Same as like when you're a teenager and you're like 13 and your parents or whoever it is trying to teach you, like, yeah, I know. And then later you're like, oh my God, now I know what they mean. And it's that level up.
It's kind of like dating girls.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm such a great kisser. Oh, crap. I got a lot more to learn.
Yeah. And we don't know what we don't know. And that's the whole thing with it. And I think a lot of stuff is learning. I think there's a lot of things we have to do in life. I'm continuously learning, but I'm also unlearning a lot of things and letting a lot of stuff go. Because it's funny how much, if we hold on to something today, if someone puts a feather in your pocket today and you're wearing those same trousers, you wouldn't notice it was there. But someone could keep adding one a day. And you know what? You can have a lot of feathers in your pocket before you notice. And in life, I think it's very similar. A lot of negativity and thought patterns. When we look, if we really look at a lot of the way we think about things and what we judge people for, and if we don't trust people or whatever it is, and we go back a bit and we peel the onion back a bit more, and we suddenly look and you go, and it's crazy sometimes when I found it, you go, that's why I thought this for all these years. But I was so used to it because it had gone on for so long, you think it's part of it, but it wasn't. It was just there for so long, it became part of the furniture of your brain. Where we have to, and unlearning stuff can be as hard as learning it, can't it?
Yeah, and we're gonna go on learning styles here. Someone told me straight out, they're like, "Do you read books and stuff?" I do read books, but the biggest book I read is the Bible, and that's the only thing that I read because my learning style is visual in doing. So, like, a lot of people will sit there and go, "Well, can't you read it?" And I will do the 100% same thing you do. You go 20 pages in, it's like my brain goes, you know, not fuck this, but it's just like, okay, this is boring. I need to stop or whatever. I can go on a YouTube video, let's say, and I'm just gonna say, you know, eat that frog or whatever. It's like a Brian Tracy thing or whatever it is. I can go on YouTube, get the speech, write it down completely, and translate to how I want to translate it, and then I'll learn it quicker than reading it.
Yeah.
And I think it is just because I don't want to use the term dyslexic or whatever. It's like I'm not even that. It's just I read so fast, my brain translates so fast. I'm very super smart. I can look at a book and all of a sudden go back, go, what the hell I just read? Because it's just so used to going so fast.
I do it with books. I've got some of my books up there, and I used to have like a highlighter pen. And when I'd read a book and I saw something of interest, I'd highlight it. Some of the books I had like looked a mess. So if I go through the second lap, and I would be suddenly highlighting more stuff, and I'm like, oh. But because I was fast reading it, and I think this is the thing, the impatience. Entrepreneurs can be really patient and really impatient. We're good at staying impatient for a long period of time, like getting annoyed with it. But we get impatient so quick, but we hold on to it for a long time. Yeah. And I do it with books. Like I'm hunting for the information. I'm like, and I read it, and I'm like, okay, that was cool. And I go back to 6 months later, and I'm like, But it's part and parcel. It's that seeking information. And it amazes me how many times I go through it. And I either read for 20 minutes a day or do an audio book. A lot of the time, if I go for a bike ride, I'll have something on, whether it's something like Gary Vee, Brad Lee, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, anything like that, just to go through the process. Because when I'm listening to it, when I'm riding, I feel like they're talking to me. So I absorb it a lot more.
Yep.
But I also, when I read books sometimes, when I find a point in a book, I absorb it and hold on to it for longer. I remember the quote, I almost see it in my eyes. Where the conversations blend into one, they more motivate me. I learn from books, but videos motivate me, if that makes sense. And I think everyone's different.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I could probably write down on my right-hand side, I don't even need to translate it in the book, but the Cash Flow Quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad or any of those books.
I was listening to it the other day with was it Brad Lee I was listening to it with? Yeah, the real Brad Lee. I don't know if you follow him at all. And he was on there the other day, and I was literally listening. And I've heard him 3 or 4 different times and read the book. And listening to it was very different from reading the book because obviously it's not pre-wrote out. It's a conversational format, and it's really interesting again how you pick up something from listening to it to reading to it. And I think the more we practice it, like we say, the repetition really makes a massive difference for what we retain and what we apply. Because a lot of the time, I'm sure you know people like they know loads, but they're great at giving advice to people, but they don't necessarily apply it to them in their own life, which I always find mesmerizing. They get satisfaction from telling other people what they know, but actually they're just good at retaining information.
Yeah, and they get very sassy about it too. And
really sassy. Sassy is a good word for it. Sassy is definitely the word for it. Really sassy. And they play it off like it's their own information. Like they researched it.
Funny thing about it is I'll just sit in and I'll be completely honest with it. The more I simplify my life, I'm not dumb. Like I'm very, very smart. The more I simplified my life and broke it down to like nuts and bolts and A, B, C, D and kind of pull all the clutter away, my life got way better. And to where
Yeah,
like
yeah, and it does.
people, you know,
It makes a massive difference.
yeah, and the people that are giving advice and stuff like that, I'll just look back. I'm like, okay, so what goals do you have? And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And all of a sudden the brakes hit. I'm like, dude, if you're not running to a goal and you don't know your why, what you're given is pretty much useless.
Doing it, we have a thing in the UK called a town crier, which I doubt you have in the States. And he literally, they used to stand in the town, they'd shout out the news. And literally, they'd just stand in the square and just shout. This is their 4 papers. And they'd just be shouting about what's going on or announcements. And a lot of people that are, like we're just talking about, do that. Their significance they get in life is being the noise, is being the regurgitator of someone else's information.
Yep.
There are a lot of people out there, ironically, we're sat having a conversation on a podcast, which is going to go out to people, but people are watching a conversation we're having, where with a town crier or the people we're talking about, they're going out and just trying to project it to people who most of the time don't even care. Most of the time, they're trying to convert people's opinions, where we're talking like-minded people about similar subjects we both vibe on. A lot of those people are trying to change. They just want to turn someone else's opinion from thinking this to thinking this. And they get satisfaction from that, rather than actually applying what they know themselves, which I think is sad.
Yeah, and a lot of my friends are that way because as entrepreneurs or as like-minded people, all of a sudden you're going to be like, you're going to get phone calls on random days. And I've had this many, many times. Buddies would call up and say, hey, dude, this is my idea. And the reason I'm asking you is because I know you have a business mind and I know you're going to view it as business side versus emotional side. They'd be like, okay, this is what I'm looking to do, or this is where I'm kind of like thinking. Is that a great idea, or what do you think about that? And I'll be like, and we have a mutual thing where it's like I'll do the same thing back, but we don't filter it. We'd be like, I'll sit there and be like, okay, dude, that's a good idea, bad idea, that's horseshit, that's, you know, whatever you want to add 2 cents to it. And to us, I think that's growth because it also builds a mutual friendship and you get more in depth. And then on the other end of it, you kind of get that outsider that's in the same arena, but yet you don't have that negative Nelly saying, oh yeah, that's just crap. You know,
But it's also because I think also because we're able to take the criticism on there. If you want to turn around something, if I said to you, oh, listen, this is what I'm thinking about doing, let me know, and you think, actually, it's crap, okay, cool. Well, that's good. I needed to hear that from someone because I'm not expecting everyone to like it. Why do you think it's crap when I think it's this? And I think as an entrepreneur, you're not trying to sell the world.
No.
You're trying to find a small pocket of people that are going to like what you do, and that's it.
Yep.
This is the other part of the world that don't really give a monkeys, and these people are going to hate it. Now, a lot of the time with entrepreneurs, I've got friends out there that do very different things. And some of them, I'm always trying to find where that demographic that's going to hate it are going to be and why they hate it. And you go, oh, okay, well, that's aligned. Because actually, if he doesn't like that, that means this buying type will actually like it. That guy there is very successful in his area, but he's tight with his money, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. So actually, he's not going to be interested. So you can actually find from entrepreneurs that have a different mindset to you, success because you find out what they don't like because you know other people will like it, if that makes sense.
Oh, and I'm going to go 2 seconds, and I'm going to elaborate on what you just said because I have 2 friends that are pretty much same industry, same everything, but the aggressiveness and the passiveness is pretty much the same because one is very conservative, nicely saying, very tight with his money, driving beat up trucks or whatever, and he's very cautious with it. My other one is very cautious with it, with a very good, but he's that very strong mindset. But his aggressiveness is a little bit different because he'll sit there and think, and then be like, okay, great idea, go to action. Like he doesn't even analyze it. It's like, okay, it's I'm gonna make money from it. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna go. And it's great watching these two because this one, he'd be like, hey, this is my idea. What do you think about this? I'm like, yeah, great idea. Boom, he'll just go. And then on the other one, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about this. What about this? Or there's not enough margin in there, or vice versa, whatever. Whatever is in there. And I'm sitting there looking at him. I'm like, okay, here you go, bud. My other buddy's just rolling, getting all the jobs possibly can. And he'll say, okay, hey, I'll take a little bit less margin at times. I'm busy. My business is moving. It all is going to even out at the end. This one will just kind of pause, be like, well, I'm not going to do it. And I'm on my phone going, you got to do it. He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, you can't sit here and stall and just spin your tires. because you're looking for 2% margin or additional.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to roll, bud.
Everyone has that thermometer, and some people have a thermometer which is a lot shorter, and they're prepared to go a lot riskier. And this is like, I need this much convincing. Other people have a lot wider one. I need all these facts here before I action on it. And I think it all works. Because you've got the people out there that want to fail fast and fail often, knowing if I put a little bit into 100 different projects, actually X amount will come through. And you'll have someone else who'll have one project, but they'll go all into, put more money into, all their time, all their passion. And if anything, they can only cope with dealing with one thing, but they do it amazingly. And they can end up with similar results. The problem is, the people that don't do well are the indecisive people that don't make any decisions.
Yep.
That don't have, and this is the one thing we do find with us. The people who make one decision and do it well, once they've decided, they're in. But people over here that make loads of decisions, they're the same, but they just make lots of little ones. But same again, once they've made the decision, they're in. They've both got conviction in their decisions. One just takes a lot longer to make it.
Yeah.
One's got a lot of things. Do you know what I mean?
The one that's not say spinning his tires, the one that takes forever, not forever, but the one that he's very, very wealthy. So I mean, it's like he's doing way better than me at the wealth side of it. But he'll call me up. He'll be like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about doing this shop related thing or whatever it is. What about this? What about that?" I'm like, "Okay." I said, "That's an amazing idea, and I know you're very passionate about it, and I know you want to do it for the last 10 years." I'm like, "The time is now to do it because it's you're past the thinking side of it." But I'm like, on the other end, I'm like, "What's your long-term goal?" He's like, "Well, I want to travel and have a business on my phone." I'm like, "Okay, is that going against it or is it going with it?"
Exactly.
And he's like, well, I can just hire a manager. I said, that's great. I have zero issues with that. I'm like, but are you there? Are you stuck there? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, is
And
that
suddenly you're a slave to a business rather than. That's the thing. But the one thing I love about doing the coaching side I do now is it gives me the freedom. Like now I could be talking to you from anywhere in the world. Unless the internet goes down in the world, the freedom's there because the platform's online so everyone can log on. They don't even need me there. But then once a week doing coaching sessions or doing phone calls or WhatsApp messages, as long as there's a telephone point and an all right internet connection, there's so much more you can do. Now, I'm fine with that because I'm actually okay with that. But I know people out there, but they couldn't cope with having that life. Like some people need to leave the house at 7, go to the office. Like they're an entrepreneur, they have their business, but they like to have it in business hours. If that makes sense. Once it's set up, they want to set it up, open up at 9, shut at 5. Once it goes 10 past, like 5:30, 6, they finish doing it for the day, and I'll come back to it tomorrow. And you get business owner, office based, and then you get the entrepreneurial it's a lifestyle. Like they live it 24/7. They're happy. They'll be in a restaurant talking to a client on Messenger. Their wife or their partner's getting driven mad by it. But it's a lifestyle. It's an addiction. You see what I'm saying? And there's other people, owners, they'd be like, yeah, cool. I'll look at it tomorrow when I get in the office. Because again, both sides work. It's just a case of finding which is better for you and then running with it.
And I'm going to laugh at this because I'm in both sides of it because I work in a mill, so you got the mill time and whatever it is. But I'm literally at the point on the other side of it where it's a 24/7 thing. I love what I do. If it's 1 o'clock in the morning my time and I'm on a podcast, I'll do a podcast. If I'm staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning editing podcasts while on my computer, I'll do that because I know that's the lifestyle I want and the freedom I want.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
I enjoy it, and I have zero issues. Like I can turn on AOR, Judas Priest, whatever I need to do on my end of it to make sure that the music is taken care of. And if I really need to, I'll drop a pot of coffee at night or whatever it is. But
yeah.
It's I love the lifestyle. I love the freedom of it. I love the worldwide connectivity, and the other side of it is there's opportunities where people are like, hey dude, why don't you come and do a summit, speak, or hey
Nice.
bud, and a few of them are like, hey, why don't you get into coaching? I'm like, what are you talking about coaching? And it just, a lot of these opportunities just fall in your lap when you're in the arena and you're in that mindset. And I'm like, well, it's like I can go down that route. So it's where I was 6 months ago to where I am now is just light years difference. And on the other end of it, people are even coming up to me now locally. They're like, hey dude, I can tell, reflecting back, I think I'm on like episode 20 of my pod. I don't remember. I just have them on my computer and I'll release them.
Yeah.
I go back and people are like, yeah, I can tell at the beginning right where you started. And they're like, every one of them, you can tell you're tweaking something and going from there and
Yeah.
looking at it. And I looked at them, I said, here's the deal. I said, I'm alert with what I need to tweak. Obviously, I can edit anything I mess up on. And on the other end of it, I'm in the avenue and I'm doing it more, and you can tell I'm more relaxed with it. That's how I say it. You jump. For me to learn, I jump in the fire.
Yeah, it's good. And I think it's a great way to do it. I think with most things out there, you have to, because as much preparation as you put into something, in most businesses, most projects, most jobs, there's going to be stuff that's not going to go to plan. So all the preparation in the world will not erase the chance of a failure or a mistake anyway. So you need to have some degree of preparation. I was talking before, in sales or stuff, you can prepare for every single call. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't, you can tell what way the call's going to go, but you cannot guarantee the way the call will go. You can be as prepared as possible. You still got to get on the call. But you can't just pre-record it and press play, because it's that. You can only get so prepared. But you have to have some degree of preparation.
That's where I had a little sore side for sales training. I love sales training. I love all the interaction. I love what you learn. Like, there's a lot of positives of it. But when it comes to like the call, they're like trying to script like you're on a script. I totally get it. And there's structures and stuff that you're going through, but it's tough to just practice.
Well, this is what I say with a lot of people. The problem is a lot of companies are either doing one extreme or the other. Here's a script. Do not say a different word to it, or do what you like. I genuinely don't care. Just get the deals in. Now, I'm a big believer in it. Rather than having a script, there's an explanation for each way. So here's an introduction. Here's the introduction. This is the content, and this is why it's there, and then you can put it into your own words. Yep. Then this is how you explain this service. This is how you do this, and this you do that. Now, once you've done that, you can put it in as order and whatever you want. The problem is a lot of people, if you're effective and you're an expert in your industry, you don't need a script to talk about your product.
Yep.
Because you know how to talk about your product.
Yep.
The problem is, if you're new to a business, you need a script with a product description. With sales, once you've learned it enough, you don't necessarily need a script, because you know 15 different ways to handle this objection. You know what to do on this point. You know how to prospect. You know not to go and start asking someone how to asking for the clone for the close 2 minutes into it. But that's the problem. There's no progress for a lot of people in sales. So they start in a job, they get given a script, stick to this, and then there's not a point where we turn around and go, listen, you're doing really well. You're clearly not dumb. You know how to do this. So actually, we're going to give you a bit more free rein on it, and then we'll review it. And then it ends up being that people get annoyed. So in a job for 2 years, they're saying the same thing like a robot, which aren't their words. They lose the enthusiasm. They're not engaged. They're not interested. So then they go through it, and then they're like, I'm not getting results. Yeah, because you're badly performing a script which doesn't fit your personality type.
Yep.
But that's not going to work for people. They've got to have something which is adaptable to people, but still delivers on the results, but using it. I think a lot of it, people get confused a lot of the time in sales, where people think a script's a surefire fix. We've all watched movies that are terrible, but they've got scripts. They're terrible films. And it's not necessarily the script was bad, but the delivery was just awful. And I think a lot of the time people are uninspired in jobs as well. They're given, especially if you're in a little booth with just a headset on and a script on a screen, and they're not talking to anyone here and they're not talking to anyone there. It's a job they don't like on a product they don't enjoy. It's hardly surprising that people don't become inspired off that, because there's no reason and there's no incentive to be inspired, because there's no progress.
And then on the other end of it, like I said, the emotion side is the number one thing that drives everything. And
100%.
And people are like, well, how do you feel off this? And I'm a more of a proactive reactive or reactive proactive. And I think that came from the sales side of it. It's like me and you can feed off each other, because I've been in this situation many, many times back in the day with sales. What we're doing right now, you can't teach. Like, this is the only way of jumping in the fire, learning by yourself and learning how to be with people.
100%.
And
the confidence and the ability does come from lots of little lessons you've learned over the years.
Yes.
But you can't teach this. But like we said earlier, if you read a book and get a phrase from it, there's bad sales calls or sales experiences that you've had where a lesson was learned, but you know, there's no alarm in your head that goes, that's never happening again.
Yes, and 100%.
And it is. And it's like turning around and saying to a racing driver, you're no good because you crashed. Like if a racing driver doesn't crash, you're not pushing your limits. Like you should be. Like if you're driving at the limit all the time, you should be crashing. You should be crashing all the time. But there's a fine line between the two.
Yeah.
Between a great racing driver that occasionally has a crash and a racing driver that fucks up badly and dies, or crashes so much they never win a race. There's a massive difference. There's something I know. I don't want to push too hard in my job because I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. But you've got to fail often. You've got to learn how to do stuff. You've still got to get results.
Yeah.
The big difference with it. And I think in life lessons, we learn a lot from our mistakes, if anything more, than we do from our successes as well.
Yeah, and I don't even, like, to me, with the route I'm going on with this, it doesn't even faze me. I'm more grateful to wake up and doing it and be happy with what I'm doing.
It's cool. Like today, I'm really enjoyed this. This is great. And again, it's a nice way. I've had a busy day. I'm 12 hours into my day. And like I feel good. I feel energized. It's nice talking about the stuff you're doing. And like I said earlier, you revitalize about what you're into and what you like and why you like it. Build content. And it gives you a good reach as well.
Yeah, and like I said, like you said, once that light bulb goes off and you find out you enjoy what you do, it's not even work, man. You can do 16-hour, 18-hour
100%.
days and wake up at 4
100%.
hours and go, like there's going to be days where I get 4 hours of sleep probably this week or next week and wake up, hit that freaking bench thing, and you're like, okay, let's go. And it's just,
yeah.
Just so used to
shake
it.
those cobwebs off.
Yeah, it grinds a little bit because my body's a little older than my joints aren't as good as what they were when I was in my 20s. But no, I'm gonna wrap this up here because we hit an hour, and obviously
man. Listen, I've really enjoyed it. It's been great.
Your time's very valuable. Mine is too. And man, tell everyone where we can find you, and then obviously I'm gonna come back for part 2 because
definitely. I'd love to. Thanks for having me on. I definitely have to come back another time. It's really good. So on anywhere like Facebook or Instagram, just search David Angel TSN is the easiest way to do it for the Sales Network. We follow each other anyway. Yeah, David Angel TSN. I've got loads of free content on there. There's some free ebooks, loads of videos. I typically put out a video a day out there as well. So if people are interested in learning some different things about sales, coaching, how to do stuff, you've got problems, drop by. Always want to talk.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me your valuable time. And I will probably drop this here probably next week, Tuesday.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Well, I've literally been recording a bit here, so I've got some little snippets I can put on my one. This is great. You've got yours. And yeah, I look forward to doing it. Just drop me a link. And let's catch up soon.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Chad, good to talk to you.
Yeah,
thank you, pal. Bye, mate.
Yeah, bye.